don't feel like doing anything, don't feel like there's a point anymore. Sometimes I do too, and here are the things that I do to get out of a productivity slump. So obviously guys, I hope this video helps you, and be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, comment and subscribe, because this really supports me and really helps my channel. So the first thing to do to get out of the slump, it sounds really counterintuitive, but it's to stop doing work. Learn about when you're tired and when you don't want to do any more work, because if you keep pushing and pushing and pushing yourself beyond that point, you'll just feel like you don't want to do work anymore. Because why would you want to do something that you hate so much? The more you make yourself hate studying, the more it'll be harder for you to study. Remember, the brain wants to do the thing that takes the least effort, the thing that is most enjoyable. So if you make studying like the worst experience, the most unpleasant experience ever, you are never going to want to do it. Toxic trait that I have personally is trying to do too much in one day. So I'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing myself. I'll try to do like majority of the lectures in one day. I'll try to just spend the whole day studying, and it just really affects me mentally, and I just never want to do work after that. I literally never want to touch my work again after those sessions. So don't do this, because it'll just put you in the slump. And if you're watching this video, you're trying to get out of it, so just be careful about that. And let's be realistic, not every day is going to be your best day. So when you feel like you're going to get into the slump, or you're just feeling kind of unproductive, do the minimum amount of work that you need to be okay, like for your grades to be okay and for you to be not stressed. If you find that you can't study for hours and you have a lot of things to do and you have like a big exam coming up, just slowly increase the amount of minutes that you study. Because if you go one day from studying 1 hour a day to 12 hours a day, you're going to feel so bad afterwards, and it's really likely that you won't be able to do it. And after not doing that, you'll feel so down and so demotivated because you thought that you could do something and you couldn't, and it just disappoints you. Just slowly build up the amount of time that you take to study, and eventually you'll get to a point that you really enjoy and that you do a lot of work in, and you'll be like, yeah, I really want to do this. So for me, like maximum I can only spend like 3 hours a day like purely studying, like focused study. Otherwise it just messes me up and gives me a headache. So yeah, just find your balance. So the second tip is to reset your environment. I know this is so cliche and like every single person says this, and the reason that everyone says this is because it's actually true. When you're stuck in your room for the whole day doing the same thing, you will not feel like doing it anymore. If you can, take a break and try to leave the environment you are studying in. So let's say you're at your desk, just get away from that desk and do something that you enjoy. Do something that brings you joy and just like renewal. So for me, I would like to go on a walk or just watch Netflix. But obviously be careful, like don't do too much. Just watch like one episode of Netflix and call it a day, then do your work. Do anything that brings you joy that is not academic, because it'll just refresh you and get you ready for the next study session. I really recommend detoxing from social media during this period, especially studygram accounts or like productivity accounts, because when you already feel like you're not doing enough and then you go on social media and you see people doing like 4-hour study with me's, 12-hour study with me's, and pretty no, you'll just feel overwhelmed and you'll just feel bad because you feel like you're not being the person that you're supposed to be. You're not being as productive as you're supposed to be, and you're not being like the perfect student. To be honest, no one's going to be the perfect student, but when you compare yourself to these studygram accounts, you just feel even worse. So do things that work on yourself and work on your mental health and make you happy. And if you don't want to do work after you finish that activity, it's fine. Take a break. Take a proper break. It's not everyday hustle culture. Sometimes you need a break, and that's okay. You're not a robot. You are not a computer machine that is made to study. You're a human being with experiences and needs and wants. So listen to your body and take a break. Do things that bring you joy. So my next piece of advice is stop trying to do a world's worth of work in one day. That was a bit of a tongue twister, you know, but I'm being serious. This is very ironic coming from me, because I am extremely toxic when it comes to doing work and when it comes to setting to-do lists. I will put a world's worth of work in my to-do list and expect myself to finish it at the end of the day. Then when I don't, I feel like absolute and utter crap, because I thought that I was going to complete the world. I thought that I was going to do the week's lectures. I thought that I was going to do extra reading or whatever, and I didn't, and it just makes me so sad. And I feel like this is part of the reason that people get into these slumps, because they think that they're supposed to do a certain amount and they don't. So then it starts to pile up in their head and they start to think that they're behind, and they just feel like, what's the point of doing it if I'm going to be this stressed? Like, what is the point of continuing this? Everything takes time, so be sure to set a realistic to-do list at the start of the day. Stop trying to do too much. It's not realistic, let's be honest. The more you're pushing yourself and the more that you can't do, the more demotivated you'll feel about doing work, because you just feel like you're so behind and you'll feel like you're not trying enough and you just feel so stressed. I don't know why, but sometimes when I'm in this zone of studying, I don't want to take breaks. I just want to keep going and going and going, and ultimately I get so tired and I don't want to do work ever again. So be sure to give yourself proper breaks. If you're someone that can go 4 hours without taking a break, good on you, but most people can't. So be sure to take a break when you feel kind of tired or when you feel like you're not focusing as much, and get away from that computer screen, get away from the whole thing. Especially with online school, staring at a computer all day can make you feel so demotivated and tired of it. I personally associate my desk with work and my bed with relaxing and the kitchen with relaxing and eating. So try not to mix those things around because you'll just feel kind of overwhelmed. After finishing your work at your desk or whatever, leave that place and just go to somewhere else and relax. On to my next tip, which is to have an accountability partner. Now, this might not work for everyone, but it personally works for me. When I tell a friend that I'm going to finish a lecture today, I feel the need to finish that lecture on that day. I don't know, it just feels nice to have someone to hold you accountable, especially someone who's doing the same course, so they know what you're going through, they know how hard it is, and you guys can like share your troubles. Like, honestly, every single week I find a lecture, I'm just like, what is this? Like, what actually is this? And to have someone else that's doing the same lecture and someone that I can like tell all of my troubles to is really satisfying. So I really recommend that you do that. This isn't to be pressurizing, but I just feel like it's better for most people when they have someone to check up on them and see how they're doing. An alternative to this, let's say if you don't want to disturb someone or you just don't want an accountability partner, is to record yourself, like a time lapse. Like on most phones you have like a time lapse option on the camera, so just put it up somewhere and record yourself studying. This actually works in two ways. It stops you from procrastinating because you can't physically go on your phone and use that as a method to distract yourself, and also you really don't want to ruin the time lapse. I don't know if it's me, but I feel like I'm a perfectionist when it comes to recording. When I'm filming a time lapse and I feel the need to go on my phone, I feel like I'm ruining the time lapse. After you watch the time lapse, you will see how satisfying it is and how much you actually achieved in those minutes and those hours that you spent studying, and I feel like that satisfaction just helps you be motivated and shows that you are making progress. Another thing is to have an activity that is not related to academics and does bring you joy. This can be gaming, Netflix, knitting, literally anything that brings you joy that's not academic. It will obviously serve as a kind of reward system. Whenever you finish a chunk of work, you can do that and you'll just feel so motivated afterwards. Obviously there's a time limit here. Please do not watch a whole series of Netflix during your break because you'll find out that you don't do anything that day. But set a limit and you'll feel much better after doing that thing, and you can go back to your work feeling refreshed. This activity is purely to distract and reset your mind, so try not to do something that's too stimulating because your brain will just get overwhelmed and you won't really want to study them. So I really recommend this tip that I found called Anime Doro. You might have heard of it already and you might have not, but it basically says that you can do like 40 to 60 minutes of work, and whenever it feels natural you can take a break. The break will be about 20 minutes, so you can do whatever you want in those 20 minutes. But using this method, he said that you can watch like an episode of anime without the intro and without the outro, and you can pretty much use this for any TV show. You can use this for Modern Family. One of my friends is absolutely and utterly obsessed with Friends, and she's probably watching this right now, but you can watch Friends because that's about 20 minutes. Just watch your favorite sitcom and you will just feel so refreshed after, and you'll feel ready to do work because it's like short. Especially sitcoms, they don't really have cliffhangers, like whatever happens at the end happens at the end. It doesn't relate to the next episode in most cases. So this is just a really good method if you feel like you're not really using your breaks properly and you don't feel refreshed after them. Another tip is to treat yourself after every little milestone. I feel like a lot of us want to give ourselves a treat after a huge milestone, like after passing our A-levels, after getting into university, or after passing a really big exam that we've been waiting for. And this is good, but at the same time you need to kind of reward yourself for the little milestones. And I'm not talking about some big reward like, yeah, after finishing this week's of lecture I'm gonna spend £200 on a clothing haul. I'm not saying that. Simply don't do that. Treat yourself by giving yourself like your favorite dessert, watching your favorite movie, or just doing something that brings you joy. You can go out with friends when this whole panoramic is over. The more you do this, the more you'll associate work with something good, and that's really what you want to achieve. You'll have something external to look forward to at the end of the week or the end of the month or whatever. Now my final tip is to think about the end goal. There's obviously an end goal to whatever you're doing, whether it's to pass your GCSEs, pass your A-levels, get into university, get the job that you want. You have to think about that sometimes, and that's not to say obsess over it and push yourself when you're tired just to achieve that end goal, because ultimately that end goal will not be achieved by something little, will not be achieved by one single study session, but over many sessions over a long period of time. So obviously don't obsess over it, but whenever you need that final burst of motivation, think about it and think about achieving what you really want to achieve. Like, just close your eyes and imagine a life that you have perfectly cultivated. You'll feel so motivated. You probably have something that you want in the future, for example having a stable job, having a house that you love, and being able to treat your parents. And just think about that sometimes when you actually feel like there's no point to what you're doing. If you want these things in the future, there's no doubt that it will be hard, but it will be attainable as long as you do some study sessions every now and then. That's not to say don't have off days. Please have off days, but just think about this when you feel like there's no point in doing whatever you're doing. Make sure you do live in the current and that you just don't always focus on the future. enjoy school. Like, school is stressful, but it's also an enjoyable experience. Like, when you leave secondary school, when you leave college, you're going to realize that you had memories there and you really enjoyed that time period, and you're probably going to feel a bit nostalgic about it. Because me personally, I'm like, I'm never going to miss secondary school, I'm never going to think about it. But sometimes you just sit there and you just think about it, and it was like those funny experiences, like especially like in year 9, those year 9, year 10, year 11 science lessons were actually like, I would never be able to recreate that experience because it was really good. So always be sure to enjoy the present and don't always chase for the future. And the quote that I want to end this video on is, the cost of procrastination is the life that you could have lived. And I feel like that's really deep. It's okay to have off days, but to procrastinate all the time, you will just not achieve what you want to achieve, and you'll ultimately feel really bad about it. I really hope this video helped you with your productivity slump, and I hope that you can get out of it. And I'm really excited and ready for you to achieve what you want to achieve. That is the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you know what to do. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, comment and subscribe for more. Please, please, please subscribe if you haven't already, because it really supports my channel, and I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subs soon. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Wow.